I want to ask a question. What is the oldest, or let me ask, what is the first religion in the world? This question is very important because we are going to see where every other religion borrows their religious ethics and dogmas from. We have to understand that before the coming of religion, ancient people had a system known as the spiritual tradition. This is popularly known by mainstream religions as paganism. You see, the term paganism was coined by the mainstream religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam to tarnish the image of those who don't belong to the Abrahamic religions. The ancient people had mystery schools where they communicated and interacted with the universe or nature. These mystery systems is what Abrahamic religions called shrines or pagan temples of worship. The first people to construct a spiritual system of communicating with the universe were the Africans through the African spiritual tradition, what you erroneously call paganism. Before looking into this interesting topic, it is an axiomatic fact to reintroduce to us that the first human beings on earth were black people, and archaeological research shows that the first humans lived in Africa, precisely Ethiopia and Tanzania, which is in East Africa. This is because when they were looking for the remains of early man, they went to Europe, Asia, and Australia. They could not find the oldest remains of man, except in Africa. Now, before the first Europeans came into existence around 55,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, the only people in the world were black Africans and the African albinos. Now, during the Great Migration, the only human beings in the world living in Africa started migrating to every nook and cranny of the earth. Everywhere they go to, they adapted to the environment. In Europe, for instance, they adapted to the ice during the Ice Age, where they started dropping pigmentation and melanin. This was because there was not enough sun in Europe to increase their blackness. Therefore, they started moving from Africoid to Caucasoid, and this was the beginning of the first white human being on Earth. The African albinos were also trapped in the European ice, and the ice became an advantage to the African albinos, and they became the first pink Europeans. Changes like long hair and narrow nose were features that were manifesting due to centuries of adaptation in the ice. In fact, the first Africans to live in Europe were called the Grimadis. These sets of Africans who left Africa to Europe became the first white people on Earth. In the ice, they lived in caves and they hunted huge animals by using the skin of these animals to protect themselves from cold. During this period, they have not discovered fire in Europe, and they ate their food without cooking or roasting. This was the life of the first Europeans who were very black Africans. Now, the Africans in Africa have already discovered fire due to the hot tropical region in Africa. They started building their civilization. They had many inventions in science, in astronomy, mathematics, that they were able to construct and build the first pyramids you see in Egypt and in Sudan. Meanwhile, the Europeans in the ice were in their caves hunting animals for survival. The Africans in their mystery schools believed in polytheism, which is the belief in many gods or natures. In fact, what we erroneously call gods and goddesses were not known as gods and goddesses in Africa. They were referred to as natures or neteru, because the Africans saw the universe as nature. I need us to understand that all the concepts, mythologies, and ethics you see in the Abrahamic religions were first known by the Africans in their mystery system. For instance, in the African spiritual system, the idea of man being created from the dust was recorded on the walls of ancient Egypt, where god Khnum was seen making man through his potter out of clay. The story of a brother killing his brother out of jealousy was known by the Africans, where Seth killed his brother Osiris out of envy and out of jealousy. This was the story they copied as Cain and Abel. The Africans in their mystery systems had the first story of a dying and resurrecting Christ. They were the first to write out the story of Horus or Heru, who came to avenge the death of his father Osiris. They were the first to document the story of Horus or Heru, who had 12 disciples, walked on water, raised the dead, born by a virgin mother named Isis, and the first to die and resurrect. This was where they copied to write the story of Jesus in the New Testament. During this time, Abrahamic religions were not in existence. Abraham, Moses, Joseph, Solomon, Jesus, Allah, and Muhammad were not in existence during the period the Africans were communicating with the universe through the sciences of astronomy. Yes, I said what I said. Our African ancestors were the first to develop the science of astronomy, and they saw God in the stars, sun, the moon, the air, moisture, and everything natural. Now, during the 18th Egyptian dynasty, Queen T and her husband, King Amenhotep III, had a son named Amenhotep IV, and the central deity worshipped in Egypt during this time was Amen-Ra, who is the Egyptian sun god, irrespective of other gods that were in existence, since the Egyptians were polytheistic in nature. You see, when their son Amenhotep IV became the new pharaoh in Egypt, he decided to change the polytheistic system of his people to a monotheistic system, thereby inventing the first monotheistic religion in the world. This religion was called Atenism, based on the worship of an Egyptian god named Aten, and Aten was worshipped as the dex of the sun. This was over 10,000 years ago under Pharaoh Amenhotep IV. This pharaoh was the most hated in Egypt. His people disliked his character. He was the one who changed his name from Amenhotep, which means servant of Amen-Ra, to Akhenaten, which means servant of Aten. He was the first person to introduce the concepts of monotheism, which is the belief in one God, thousands of years ago, before Abraham and Moses. You see, this singular act made his people to revolt against him, and Akhenaten moved the capital of Egypt from Thebes to a new place named Akhenaton, which means the place where Aten will be worshipped effectively. After he died, his son Tutankhaten decided to change his name to Tutankhamun, which means a living image of Amen-Ra, the almighty Egyptian sun god. His son refused to follow the political steps of his father. That is, Tutankhamun refused to follow the step of his father, Akhenaten. In fact, after the death of Akhenaten, a pharaoh named Horemheb, who was the last pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, who ruled Egypt for 14 years, used the period to erase and totally eradicate every remains of Akhenaten from Egyptian history because of the atrocities he committed by trying to destroy the traditional Egyptian worship of Amen-Ra. This is why, till today, archaeologists are yet to find the remains of Akhenaten. His beautiful wife, Queen Nefertiti, was described as the most beautiful woman in the world. Her name simply means a beautiful woman has come. She stood strong by the side of her husband and later was made a high priestess of Aten. This is the origin of religion and spirituality that no one will tell you. But today, I am telling you because I need you to know. To know more of this, I will recommend the following books. If you love knowledge, then you will send a message to my inbox requesting you want to buy your own copy. These books are all in soft copy PDF, and they will help change the wrong narrative about our African ancestors and proffer solution to our African problems. We have the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the Papyrus of Ani, the 16 crucified Christ before Jesus, the 12th planet, the untold history of the black race and the fall of African civilization, the destruction of black civilization, general history of Africa, the books of Enoch, and many more. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ebenezer Heru today to know more of the things I teach.